live. I'm going to adjust a little bit here. Hey, baby doll, how are you doing? So, hello to TikTok over here, and we've got YouTube live here. So, how are you doing? And today we're going to be doing a channeled timeless collective reading. So, channeled timeless reading for you whenever you see it. And I'll be just flowing with the channel messages coming through for that. And then probably a full channel mode session after that. And I'm just going to say hi to everyone showing up on TikTok and everyone on YouTube. Timestamps will be below in the description for the reading. And if there's a full channel mode session, the full channel mode session, and we'll just see what I'm guided to do today as the live progresses here. Okay, so just finished watching the membership live from yesterday. Awesome. I hope it was helpful and did whatever was for the highest good for you. Was just listening to one of the Let's Go Higher membership vids. Awesome, Cowtipa. It was the best. Heck yeah. How's it get even better than that? Glad to see it, Sarah. Hey. Congrats on the new podcast. Thank you, Lainey. I really appreciate it. Yeah. So, anyone watching live here or watching the replay, I do have a podcast that, as of today, just launched earlier. So, that will be available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and on YouTube as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that one for sure. It's called the Channeling Source Podcast, if anyone was wondering about that. Listening to the podcast today and loving it. So glad to hear it, Becca. Thanks for letting me know. Super appreciate it. I'm glad you're loving it. Listen today, so fun. Awesome. Soul Nurse Lynn says, hey, loved the live last night. Highly resonated. So excited for the podcast. Awesome. So glad to hear it. Super excited. Excuse me. So I was gonna start, and they're like, "Nope, keep hanging out with chat." So I'm gonna keep hanging out with you guys for a second longer, and then we'll start in a second here. But I'm glad the live resonated, and I really, of course, hope the podcast is helpful in whatever ways would be for the highest good, and just does all that would be for the highest good in the world and for you guys. The channeling session was so soothing. Perfect. I'm so glad to hear it. Hey, Emily on YouTube. Hi. So many cool things happening. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing really well. By the way, guys, the mic, I'm cool with you hanging out wherever you want to hang out, TikTok or YouTube. I will say the mic on YouTube probably sounds or does sound a lot better than the mic for TikTok. So mic on YouTube, this one sounds better than the one on TikTok, but it's totally up to you, whichever platform you like the best. Did you just get on or did you miss it? I just got on like a few minutes ago, actually. All right, so they're telling me to start the full, not the full channel mode. I mean, the channel timeless collective reading. So let me see if there's anything they'd like me to say about that. So, yeah, pretty much the thing that most of you are familiar with. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Jack. So, the channel timeless collective reading, of course, is for you whenever you see it. And I'm just going to be flowing with the channel messages coming through from my spirit guides, the angels, and source, fully for your and the highest good, just to bring through what you need to hear, what's going to help you out, what's going on maybe, and did I already say what would be for your highest good? Because that's part of it too. So they're just giving me the start sign. So let's start here. They've been starting these readings out with checkered like flags a lot, almost like the end of a race. And now they're showing me checkers like the board games. Let me see what the message is for you guys with this right now. They're also showing me like the sun, there's a bumblebee, there's a dragonfly, there's sunflowers, there's a field of flowers, there's the word ease. There's a lot they're throwing at me at once. So let me see what the message is for what would be highest and best to come through for you for all this stuff showing up here. So what I'm getting for starters is like you are heading into this territory where you have a lot more freedom. It might not be right away. You might not feel like you have this right now or right away. However, in the next year or so here, it's going to be birthing for you, especially in the next 6 months is something I'm getting. You'll see some strong pulls towards this, like for creating it for yourself or for manifesting it or doing what you need to do to have it. And you'll also see some strong opportunities for freedom for you. And this could be, again, like freedom from a job situation, freedom from a constricting home circumstance or relationship. And that home circumstance isn't going to be true for all of you, of course, but for like maybe one or two of you. So, just keep an eye out for opportunities for freedom is what I'm hearing with that one here. With like the ease message is what they would like to go to next. Like they're giving me this the song "Here Comes the Sun," so there is a lot of it's like the Sun tarot card, but positive sun energy coming in for this crowd in the next month here is what I'm getting as far as a timing with just some of the things that start to birth, some of the opportunities, even some of the relationships that are shifting in beautiful ways for at least for some of you is something I'm getting. For others of you, it's like I just keep getting messages about new work circumstances birthing for you. So you're either going to be getting both of those or something, one or the other, or something along this vein here with this message coming through. So there's also just like a lot of positive outcomes with some of the endings that are happening, at least like eventually, depending on the kind of ending, and like what's going on. But for most of you, the ending might even be positive too. If there are certain like endings that are happening or finish lines you're crossing, literally or metaphorically, probably more metaphorically, with all this as well. I for some reason, a lot of these weeks I've been getting messages about ease, and I'm getting one for this week as well. Like there's a message about like ease along with the sun, especially if there have been more like strenuous circumstances, even like way in the past or that have like cropped up lately. In some ways, it's kind of like you're just releasing things that are in the way of ease and things you'd like, and it's kind of been like a clearing phase, is the way I'm getting to say it. Mm, so I'm just getting there is more ease on the way, and I'm just gonna trust that message that's coming through for you. And going back to like the field of sunflowers as well that was showing up here, they're kind of showing someone who's a bit lost in the sauce and like the field. Like there are butterflies, but it's like really tall grass, and there's also like tigers in this grass and like antelopes. Let me see what the message is here. So, like, some of you, like, you might feel a bit lost in the sauce right now, in certain ways. Like, a lot of you tuning into this, and like, the message is like, just keep going. Like, you're actually safe. You're actually, what's the best way to say this? You're headed in the right direction, at least for the most part. And if you just keep going, like, things are going to course correct. You're eventually gonna find yourself, like, as you move through this field and keep going, like, you kinda burst out the other side of the tall grass, and, again, there's, like, freedom waiting for you. There are new decisions, there are choices you might not have even dreamed of is something I'm getting as well, which is really cool. So, really just keep going, like, it's kinda one of those, like, put your head down and, like, drive kinda messages even. Because if you start to, like, second guess, you might, like, stop or stop the momentum of where you're headed or yeah, I hesitate to say this, but they are saying something about, like, if you start second guessing and stop too much, like, it might stop or delay some of the good things coming your way, which I'm getting won't happen. So and I usually yeah, I'm getting it won't happen, so I'm not too worried about that for you guys here. So let's go to the bumblebee next to something they're showing, and there's a message about, like, true stripes, kinda like a tiger's stripes, sort of. Let me see what's up with the true stripes message. So one message that's coming through as well is that, your true stripes are gonna be showing, and it's actually a really beautiful thing because, like, you at a soul level, you're pure, and so, like, there's a lot of the human conditioning leaving, a lot that's healing where this is an interesting message, but you might have thought you were something that you weren't, like, in a maybe in a more negative, you could say, way where like, maybe you thought you weren't worthy, for example, and then, like, you start to see more through source's eyes that you actually are, and, like, you can have beautiful things, and, like, you are a great person, things like that are examples they're showing me, and that's gonna hold true for a lot of you too, so it's kinda like the truth of you being shown and, like, laid bare, but that actually helps you out in pretty major ways, so there's a lot conspiring to bring the truth out and that truth out, as well. So one more thing with the bumblebee here. The thing is like bumblebees, to my knowledge, rarely sting. Like they kind of bumble around and they might bump into things and they're usually pretty big for bees and they're fuzzy and all that. They're usually pretty docile if I'm not mistaken. They're not usually super aggressive. So the message is like there are a lot of things that you think are going to go wrong that really just aren't. Like even like things like the economy or your job situation or things you're really like worried about or stressed about. The other thing they're kind of saying with this is like Source does have a way, like even if something happens somewhere, like there's probably a plan B for you, or like, and they're showing like plan S as well for maybe it's like plan source or something. But like there's all these there are, like, other avenues for things to happen and for Source to get things done and for Source to take care of you. So, try not to stress too much, and even if, like, something you're banking on falls through, there might be something on the other side of it or something just around the corner that really rectifies it. So, yeah, try not to stress too much, I guess, is part of the message. Like, you could say you're divinely protected. Let me see what else is going on here. They're just, like, saying you don't need to worry as much as you have been about pretty much anything. And I know sometimes there's things we need to, like, pay attention to or, like, watch out for or just, like and I mean, like, just be discerning about, just pay attention to, like, paying attention to our intuition and what we're getting about people or places or situations and things like that. Mm, but that's a little bit different than just, like, worrying about everything and then nothing happens. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that kind of makes sense and helps there. There's still more at the bumblebee though. So they're talking about the bumblebee's wings here. So what's up with that? So they're kind of guiding me to with this message to they're telling me to play off of there's like a multiple things I want to say with this. With bumblebees, there was this weird post that was going around on social media where it was like, scientifically, bumblebees shouldn't even be able to fly because their wings and their body size and mass. And to me, I go like, well, okay, then science clearly has it wrong because it's happening. It's that just means science messed up somewhere. If that's true, that science was saying something, it doesn't make it impossible for bumblebees to fly. Um, and so but what they are giving as a message though is like they're giving me the words impossible flight. So kind of like how science has things wrong potentially and that was just a social media post that was blasted out there and there's so much weird like twisting of truth and facts and even like what scientific studies actually say on social media just for the sensationalized like clickbait aspect, I guess. Um and I could get into that further too. However, what I was kinda getting was, like, there are things you might think are impossible that actually aren't as far as, like, success that's possible for you or things you can accomplish or the kind of people you can bring into your life or the kind of money you can make. So don't limit what can show up for you by thinking only these tiny, like, piddling things can be, like, your reality or your truth. Like, don't be science that's wrong about the bumblebee. Like, look at what's actually possible, I guess, and, like, what source is telling you is possible, and, like, even how, like, source is telling you to move in the world, and trust that over some of your limiting beliefs or the limiting things other people say or try to put on you is something I'm hearing. Um whether that's energetic or that's, like, things people say or things you just read online, like articles or things like that, and, like, you can have the impossible flight and accomplish what you'd like to accomplish, I guess you could say, and impossible should probably be in quotation marks because it's not really impossible. Um, the other thing I was gonna say briefly, which is it's kinda unrelated, was about the online articles and things twisting things, like, there was this one post about or this, like, sensationalized, like, quote about depression, which isn't true, by the way, and it was this thing where I was like, "Oh, people who are depressed see the world more accurately because 'cause they're so smart and they see things correctly, and that's why they're depressed." And I was like, always I'd always get into it, like, my body pendulum would go, "No," my spirit guides would say, "No, that's not true." I like, it just every facet of my intuition was just like, "No." So I was like, "Okay, that's really fascinating that people are posting that." And then if you look up the actual study says that, like, it literally clarifies, like, while most people who are depressed actually have a warped view of most things of reality, the only thing they had a more accurate, perception of was the passage of time. That was it. That's all that the study said. And so the study actually clarified the opposite of what the online post was saying in most scenarios, which was, like, the silly thing. So I guess don't believe everything you read. That's what I was kind of part of what I was referring to earlier. Um, and by passage of time, it was literally like if they put a depressed person in a room and a person who wasn't depressed in a room, and for like 20 minutes, the depressed person was more likely to be like, that was 20 minutes. And the non-depressed person might have been like, that was 30 or 10 or whatever. Like that was it. So, and if you put a non-depressed intuitive person, they might have just got the intuitive accurate information. So there's probably, yeah, you get it. So if you're trying to be depressed to be smarter than everyone, don't do that. Let me see what they'd like to get to next here, or to prove you're smarter than anyone on some weird, subtle level or something like that. Let me see what would be highest must to get to next here. And I'm not saying that to call you out or anything if that's you. I think sometimes people we buy things that don't serve us to try and like prove something, and we make our life a certain way and they're like, wait, that wasn't even like reality or true, that was just like a weird story that someone put on things. And so I guess I'd stay away from those. I'm not sure why I'm feeling called to talk about that. So next thing they're showing me is a condor. There's a bunch of birds. There's eagle, there's a condor, there's a hawk as well, and it's like this eagle is, like, carrying a snake, and then, the next thing showing up is Quetzalcoatl, which is I forget which I know it's, like, a South American native deity, so let me see what the message is with all this here. So there is sort of one of the things they're showing me is, like, a world transition happening with, like, the power levels, not like Dragon Ball Z power levels, but the power levels of, like, different societies and, like, countries and nations, and it's, like, shifting really quickly, and you might kinda be feeling that or seeing that, like, in an as above, so below way or a collective way, like, in your personal life as well, whether it's, like, power struggles with people or maybe even, like, power struggles with yourself where it's, like, you would like to choose something, but all these, like, limiting beliefs rear their head, and it's kinda like, will you choose your power over limiting beliefs is, like, a interesting example showing up here. But they're giving me the phrase, like, "death of the snake" here, so let me see what that means here. It's kinda like a death of and that snakes don't always represent something, like, dark or negative, by the way, but in this scenario, it's, like, talking about the death of darkness, like, through the power struggles in a way, or through some of the things you're learning through the power struggles, or even the things you're learning about yourself through any, like, power struggles you might be going through, like, with people or with whatever your habits, whatever is going on here. Um so just like there is a lot of darkness leaving, and I would really be patient with yourself just because of the energies flying around in the world, like even because of like conflicts between nations or things on the world stage or things between people or things between other organizations. Like there's just a lot of weird energy out there. So and it's also okay to just like stay inside. If you're feeling weird one day, I wouldn't like probably totally hermit unless you really feel called to that and that feels like right to you intuitively. It's kind of just know like there's a lot of darkness leaving. There's a lot of weird stuff flying around. It is going to get better. So just kind of take care of yourself. And one thing I'm also getting to say is don't feel like you need to solve everything right now with like other people around you, or don't even think it's your job to save the world right now. Like taking care of yourself right now is enough if you feel overburdened by people around you, things going on around you, etc. The other thing this is representing, though, is a death of old habits and freedom over old habits, or even an old you, an old version of you. And there is a lot that's died off about you. And this is a positive message, actually. There's a lot that's died off about you that you don't realize has died off. So you might think you're the same person you were a year ago, and you're actually completely different and just don't realize it. Or maybe source hasn't quite hit the ignition button on the realization that you're a new you, if that makes sense. So you might kind of be like, they're just like things shedding off of you really quickly, is kind of the message, which is part of the darkness leaving message and also part of the power struggle message because how is that part of the power struggle message? Because you might just be kind of struggling with certain other old parts of you that are dying off, is part of it. And again, just be really patient with you. Know that you're really shedding, know that you're releasing, know that a new you is birthing, and new paths will come about as a result of the new you. And it might tie into earlier in the reading as well with like the new opportunities for freedom and things like that. So the other thing I'd like to stress again, for some reason, it's coming in is like it's not on you to like save everybody, save the world. It's not on you to like take on everyone's stuff to save them. It's not on you to. This might sound strange, but bear with me. Put out a bunch of content that's going to save the world. You can kind of only show up for what you can show up for, and everyone playing their part is going to save the world. It's probably not just gonna be, like, one savior, that shows up and, like, solves everything for everyone about everything. So to, like, put that on yourself, if that's you in any capacity in your life or regarding the world right now, it's just kind of, like, unfair to you and, like, maybe even what you can handle. And even if you can handle that, like, is that really what you'd like when you also have a whole world of people that can help solve the world, like, is like a weird phrase, or like help the world. So part of what you might be here to do is like inspire other people to also create change, but it's not your job to like fix them. Like they have their own responsibility in how their life goes, in the choices they make, and who they become, and how they use their time to either improve themselves or maybe some people might choose to waste time. Like that's up to them. So uh try not to take like too much responsibility for other people where that doesn't really belong with you right now. And the other thing is like there are some people who are drowning. There are some people who are not doing well. At the same time, you can only do what you can do, and it doesn't behoove anyone for you to drown with them if that's what's going to happen if you like jump in the water with them with any of their issues or anything like that. So I guess a quick reminder to not do that is part of what's coming through with all this as well. So let me see what they'd like to say next on everything here. But the cool message as well that's showing up here is power struggles resolving. So in the next few months here, if there are power struggles for you personally, a lot of that's going to be healing. And I'm not going to promise the world stage is going to be totally healed in like 3 months. That'd be really cool, universe. That'd be awesome. However, you might not see everything resolved on the world stage, but your life is gonna be better is what I'm getting for most of you, at least regarding that particular area, so that's cool. Next thing they're showing me here are grapes, and we didn't get to condor. We didn't get to the condor part of that here. So let me see. With the grapes here, grapes usually symbolize rewards. Um, so one thing they're showing me is like there might be people in your life dangling like false rewards in front of you, especially if people are trying to like get things out of you or get extra work out of you is something I'm hearing or just trying to get you to go along with their agenda. So just trust your intuition with like who do you listen to and about what, and make sure you're forging your own path in a way you would like and not just going along with everyone else's plans is something I'm hearing. And I'm also just getting this message and reminder just to like to make sure things benefit you as well. to some capacity with at least most areas of your life. Like there are absolutely areas where you will probably feel called to just like to give or to gift or to be an angel in someone's life, I guess you could say. And like that's totally cool. However, you also do have to receive and you can't be in deficit in every area of your life. Like you will drown. like you like that's how people get really resentful, despite how well intentioned they might be in the beginning. And some people get trained into that, like overgiving and like being in deficit because either they think they're not worthy or they think that's how good people operate, or that's a judgment or projection that they were sold on how good people are or operate. And it might not be true. You might have to take care of yourself in order to be a benevolent, beneficial person in the world to your maximum capacity with the amount you can gift and give to others, for the highest good. So just keep that in mind. Uh, There does have to be a certain level of things serving you in your life. For some reason, they're bringing that through. Otherwise, like you will drown. I guess is the message. And you'll know who you are if that really strongly applies to you, because you'll probably feel like you're drowning right now, probably because of others and like their demands on you in some way, shape, or form. The other thing with grapes here is they're giving me the phrase "false gods," which is fantastically interesting. So what's up with that? Um, One reminder as well is to really just reevaluate your reasons for doing what you're doing in job situations, in business, in relationships. And like there's just a call to make sure it's pure as source would see it. And I know like some people, never mind, they don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I don't mean pure as far as like a religious, like judgmental, this is a sin, this is not a sin standpoint. I mean it more as in like, what's for the highest good? Like what's going to be beneficial for all and for the highest good of all? And just kind of maybe look into reassessing, reevaluating some things. And like, while we did just talk about things benefiting you, like there has to be usually a balance in some areas somehow, with all these things. Um, Not to sound like a trite corporate meeting. um, but you understand what I'm saying. Like yeah. So that's really interesting here. Just they're just kind of a thing. Like if you're serving the wrong things, it might not things might not work out as well for you in certain areas. Until you switch it up to be like, okay, what would be for the highest good for all here? And highest good for all does include yourself too. Like what's for the highest good of you and the other parties. That's probably gonna be one of the best places to operate. Is just that's what's coming through. So the other thing with like the false gods message is for some reason there's a reminder for some of you out there, like double check, like, okay, when you're coming from like with the choices you're making, like, are you coming from ego or intuition? It's just something to double check back on and double check your intuition about, and just kind of double check some of the choices you're making. Like if you have a business or other things, like I'm just getting that's going to be really helpful and it's going to help set some things straight that even if certain things have been going wrong. So, and for some of you, that's going to solve everything if you'll just kind of sit down and really assess that. So just keep that in mind. That's all they wanted to say about that. The other thing with grapes, though, is that there are true rewards coming for everybody here. Like they're showing me Nine of Cups and like wish fulfillment here because of either hard work you put into to things. There's going to be another side note I'm going to go down here in a second about that, but or because you have been listening to your intuition and listening to your divine guidance and doing your best with that. Like there is wish fulfillment like on the horizon for everybody here, this at least to some capacity. And for some of you, it's really big. For others of you, it's like it's medium, but it leads to something really big. And a lot of this has to do with like life changes that are happening, and again, certain cycles that are ending is something they're saying as well. So even though there was that message about like, hey, double check some of like maybe where you're coming from with certain choices, like there are really good things on the way just in general as well, which is really cool. So with the condor that showed up here, usually condor, I need to Google search, like, do condors fly long flights and long journeys? Because for some reason, intuitively, it started to represent long journeys in the readings of facilitating. So whether they do or don't physically, the message, I trust the messages I get. So let me see what this is up here. So there are like new journeys that are long that are going to be starting here, whether it's a venture you're starting or something source guides you to do, or um, maybe new relationships you're starting. And it's a blessing, actually. So there are like long, blessed journeys showing up for you. And journeys can be good. They don't have to be long and arduous. They can be more like a nice Caribbean cruise in good weather and and conditions and all that. So the journey of life does not I was hearing something like the journey of life does not have to be arduous. And I know that can be a bit of a perspective flip and like it might take some shifting, some healing, some at work or putting some work into things to get there and to shift things into that. However, it's that's what I'm getting to say here. Because there's all those quotes about like life is about the journey that kind of remind us like if we only focus on the destination and our life sucks for like 5 years trying to get to something, and it's like unless that beyond that 5 years is going to be really amazing and it is, and you're not going to die sometime in the next 5 years uh, before you get there, or not soon. Not that you, yeah, that's another thing we need to talk. Oh my God, there's like all these like side notes that are like stacking. So I'm just gonna ask to bring through what's for last good to get to for you guys here. But I was, with life being about the journey, like it is kind of important that we enjoy the steps along the way, at least somewhat. And like there are periods of life sometimes where we need to sprint or we need to make something happen or do what we need to do. And or there can be, maybe it doesn't have to be this way. Like it's not as fun. However, like on the other side, it is really glorious and great. And like that's cool. Like I guess an example would be like if you're doing a business startup and it takes a lot of work, but then it is worth a lot of money after 5 years, you can sell it, then you can retire, like there's examples like that. For this crowd though, I'd also look at like, are you enjoying your time here? And is your journey worth it right now with where you're headed and just some of the ways you're living your daily life is one of the reminders coming in for some reason with all that. And let me see. I know we have like 20 million side notes stacked up. I want to see where the best place to go next is. I guess like just to rein it back to the message though, like it's meant to be a beautiful journey. Like this condor message, this new ventures, the new journeys coming in. It's not meant to be like a climbing a mountain and like everybody dies and it's a bad time or something like that. So kind of an extreme example, but that's what they said and showed me. So not that that's going to happen, by the way. That's exactly what they said was not going to happen. So next thing here, one of the side notes here. I forgot what the side notes were. Sorry, because I kept going with the other messages. Let's just move on, and if it comes back around, well, we'll come back around to it. So, what would be highest must to get to next here? Show me blue crystals like sapphire, lapis lazuli, and now there's dumortierite as well here. It's about the throat chakra and expression, and it's about unlocking that. And some of you have been stifling your voices for other people for fear of what they might think. I would definitely stop doing that. They're not worth it, is what I'm getting. Or their opinions aren't worth it. Or it's like, most people who are coming from a good place, they'll probably be, depending on how you do it, they'll probably be pretty cool about it if you express your truth, or at least pretty in allowance of it. Like they won't be like super judgmental or harsh, even if it like disagrees with something they believe they might. And if even if it's something like you express that's like not totally true, or it's like maybe you're just in a moment of anger about something, they'll probably hold space with it and ask questions to be like, oh, well, is that actually true for you? Or they might kind of lead you to a better perspective if that's what they feel called to do, depending on how like how they're like, and like, are they listening to intuition in the conversation and things like that? And they probably won't bludgeon you over the head for it. So if you're constantly stifling your voice, I would, in one sense, maybe reconsider some of the people you're surrounding yourself with that you feel like you need to do that. Or the other side of that could just be looking at like your own trauma regarding speaking your voice, if the people are safe people, to be yourself around and things like that. Uh, but your voice is healing, is the message, and you're going to be more expressed, and you're needed. Like your voice is needed, your truth, I guess, is needed. Uh, um, like some of the ways you think are really important is what I'm getting to say. and some of the things you have to say could really heal other people or bring a lot of good to the world. So don't stifle your voice for others, especially the loud, like negative opinions that are kind of falling out of people's mouths or on social media and like the comment sections. Like one thing that they're kind of reminding you of is how thoughtless some of those loud, like negative remarks are. And like a lot of those people are kind of just unconscious. They're not like actually thinking about what effect is this going to have on the world or people who see this, or they're not thinking about like, what's actually true in this situation. They're just like, "Bruh, bruh." They don't, yeah, they're just like uh, um, so like in some ways, like pay them no heed, unless you're guided to like pay attention to something somewhere. It's like a lot of what there's like a lot of stuff people are spouting like that that's not true or not true for you. And like you don't need to listen to it or let that drown your own voice in a world that desperately needs to hear what you have to say for many of you, for most of you at least, especially if you're intuitive, you're divinely guided, you channel, you have things to say that help people or improve people's lives, etc. You know who you are. Even like therapists among you, I'm getting to say as well. Like you have good things to say, so don't stifle your truth. And a lot of the people that are like negative and have a big opinion are wrong. Is just what I'm hearing. And if you need to hear that, so maybe that will give you some more confidence to not heed them as much in your life and to pay attention to your voice and your intuition, what you're called to say instead, and pay attention to source here. So, next thing they're showing me is a dove here, and the message is grace. So, there is grace landing on your path. If you're seeing a lot of doves, then that's a sign that ease is birthing for you or things are about to get better for you. And there's just like a lot of dove energy showing up here. Not Dove the soap bar, but maybe that could be a sign for you. uh, there's just Dove soap bars falling from the sky. That's a joke. So that was a bad joke. Let me see what the message is with the dove beyond that. Yeah, some of you like you think life sucks, but you're actually just releasing, and things are actually going to be really good for you soon here. So hang in there, is what they're showing, and it's with the Dove soap. It's kind of a cleanse, I guess you could say. Is one of the ways it's showing up here as a message too. So there is grace on the way. You're not alone. Like God does hear your cries or your pleas, whether it's pleas for help or for better or whatever. So just try to hang in there right now. Is if that's you, is one of the messages. And I do feel like that's most of you in regards to something, in regards to your path right now. So I hope that all made sense, helped, resonated, etc. They're kind of saying that's it for the reading, and that was about 30 minutes here, so that's a pretty good. I was getting 30 minutes for the channel timeless reading, so that kind of checks out. There's one last thing here. They're showing me a pig here. There is a message about abundance issues leaving and kind of getting straightened out, and there's just a lot of abundance healing flying through the collective and this collective, and just a lot of things spurring like the a lot of things spurring release. I sometimes I just pick objects up while I'm like channeling and talking, and I just start moving around with them. So I hope the pen doesn't distract you. Um, but there's a lot of release regarding not like you're releasing abundance, but you're releasing things like in the way of abundance or abundance issues or beliefs around abundance or whatever. Like a lot of release in that way regarding abundance that's happening, so you can have it. And so there is like kind of an abundance healing underway if you were like wondering what's happening, like especially if you're like you were really abundant and then something happened and like it kind of dipped for a bit or something and you're like, I'm getting it's fine. Still like take action if you feel called to take action and all that. It's like something's releasing or healing, or you're just being called in a new direction and like you don't need to worry. Just like trust your intuition regarding it. Okay, they're saying that's it for the reading. So I hope that helped and made sense and resonated. Do whatever was for the highest good. And you're welcome, Cow Tippa. So I'm gonna look at the messages on YouTube. Hi, Firefly. So I know some of you probably said hi like a long time ago. You're welcome for the live, Kelly. Don't throw the pen. I won't throw the pen, Firefly. Yeah. But you're welcome, Boss Babe. You're welcome, Whittaker. And we're gonna do a full channel mode session pretty much now here. And so Just a disclaimer for the people on TikTok. You're welcome, Cosmic Cat. Art. I said that weird. Anyways, so TikTok, after about like an hour and some change, will usually throw up a little thing that says like, "Hey, are you still here for the live? We're gonna shut the live off if you don't solve this little puzzle on the screen." And if I'm channeling in full channel mode session and my eyes are closed, I sometimes just don't catch it. So if TikTok shuts off while I'm in the middle of full channel mode, you can jump over to YouTube. I'm live over here on YouTube, so TikTok, YouTube, and you can catch the message that way. Just so you know. So yeah, so just as a heads up, and so for full channel mode stuff here, some of the benefits of listening to the channel material are, of course, that there's the message that comes through, and then there's also the energetic transmission from source that only works for the highest good, and just it can do things like a healing session. It can create shifts and changes, upgrades, things like that. Whatever's for the highest good regarding, excuse me, the channel and the people showing up. Um, and then also it can open your third eye and intuition as well, just through the transmission, and it probably can do other things. That's a good starting place to understand it, and it's only for that. It's good, um, at least depending on the practitioner. You always probably would like to make sure you have a good practitioner that you're working with anything, when it comes to spirituality or energy healing or things like that. That's also my disclaimer when I say that. So yeah, so I'm just gonna be jumping into full channel mode here. Spirit guides, the angels, and source will be channeling directly through me. If you need a name for them, they go by the Angelic Collective of Zorbidal. They don't really have names up there, and they told me that, but then they gave me that name anyways. So it's the short version of that story. So as far as like the topic of the full channel mode session, usually they'll give me one beforehand. This time they're like, nope, we just would like to start. So we'll see where they go for you guys here. And usually this lasts, for these lives, it's usually about 10 to 20 minutes for the full channel mode sessions. And I will just take like a few seconds. I'm gonna drink some water beforehand, just in case. And I apologize for like water spilling into my beard. Beard water ASMR. Oh. All right. Yeah. Okay. And we're just gonna start. So give me like 10 to 30 seconds or shorter, and I will be channeling for you in a second. We are going to take just a second to get warmed up here. Mm. Things are rotating around you regarding transformation, and many cycles are closing and rebirthing into something entirely different. One of the main messages we'd like to leave you is the pattern shifting on Earth that is occurring. For many cycles that have gone on for generations or for centuries are closing down for good. So you will be seeing things that are entirely new and unprecedented on Earth and in your personal lives soon here and throughout the years ahead, especially the next few. For it is usually in the rebirth of these cycles that the surprises find you, or the sudden redirections find you, or the new life finds you. So do not be dismayed by your life so far or your previous circumstances, and for many of you, even your current circumstances, for this rebirth of cycles and the ways that events are orbiting around you and going through their cyclical events is not going to be the same. It is completely changing. That's really our main message for you. You might be so used to cycles and even the concepts of cycles and things being a certain way in your life. We would say don't hold on to that. Instead, invite what you'd like to see and pay no heed to certain past cycles. That does not mean don't be aware of what's showing up or what has shown up or what will show up for you. It does not mean bury your head in the sand. It is nearly a message we actually give to you for you to rejoice on. For are you not tired of some of the negative cycles you see in the world or around in your daily lives? Are you not ready to break those cycles and have a new life in some regards, or at least in a specific area somewhere? Some of you are wary, W E A R Y, and WARY for some of you in that crowd as well, of romantic relationships and those cycles. For you are tired of the same person showing up in different bodies and in different ways, and you are tired of the same relationship cycles playing out. For you, we would say this rebirth we speak of is going to be very internal and it is going to be heart focused, as well as focused on communication and the ways you see intuitively. For who you are in the heart can sometimes reflect in relationships, not directly. Yes, sometimes directly, but also sometimes not directly. We will explain. If you are someone who is a kind, caring, loving person, but you do not have boundaries or you do not have a backbone, you might be attracting certain lessons or vibrational matches to that your way that teach you to have a backbone and that teach you to have balance with that caring heart in a way that is also caring to you. So, you growing as a person in that scenario is actually you having boundaries and looking after your heart. And as you set those boundaries, as you learn to be firmer on others around you who treat you ill, you begin to have relationships that reflect that, either as your current relationships from that standpoint transform or new relationships come in. For energetically, you will have set the boundaries and transform the energies of your heart, but also of how you approach relationships and the energies of your relationships. We will not say it reflects you directly. For there are plenty of kind, caring, loving people who lack boundaries, who might attract in a narcissistic individual or someone with narcissistic traits. So when we say it reflects your heart, that is why we do not say it reflects it directly. So your personal evolution is going to reflect around you. So, how can you evolve your heart and your voice and your strength in the ways you approach relationships, especially romantic? And when it comes to you voicing your needs, how can you start to heal your heart and heal the way you approach your own self, even your self talk, even the way you perceive of yourself, so that you are attracting difference? And naturally, a lot of this is occurring for many of you in the past years. You've had many lessons or learnings around the heart regarding relationship. Not all of you. There are a few of you who had this honed in already. So now that you've hit a certain tipping point regarding your boundaries, regarding your heart center, regarding your authenticity, regarding you taking care of you, for this group we are talking to, you will have the transformation reflected externally to match the new energies. But there are also other areas that are shifting through this rebirth energy, through the collective shifts, through you shifting. So you are at a bit of a crux point where, not just relationally, but in all areas, one by one or all together, things really flip. in a beautiful way for most of you. Some of you might be a bit concerned with the change or the changing of patterns, or you might be concerned when something comfortable leaves. However, that does not mean that what shows up to replace it won't be better. For when things change like this, when patterns rearrange, when things are up in the air, even when you are in the midst of a crisis sometimes or a crisis on the world stage, there's possibility. There's healing in that, and there is possibility through the cycle changes where you can start to ask for anything, where you can start to craft the life you'd like to have, where things aren't locked in such a specific, hard encased way that it's more difficult to change the patterns. So, in some ways, this is a gift when these patterns change because you are not beholden to them any longer. And some of you identify with your patterns, with your habits, with your choices. We would urge you to look at those things as something different compared to who you actually are and what you are. These are things you choose and things you put into motion, but they do not define who you actually are. For you can change patterns, you can change habits, you can change the choices you make, you can change the patterns in your life. You do not have to identify with them. For you are a soul, you are your highest self, you are a source. In some ways, you are everything. Try to wrap your mind around that. We like to jest. And even if you don't understand it mentally, you can understand energetically or through your intuition or on a soul level. And you do on a soul level. So we would like you to look at the patterns and your habits and your choices and even the cycles of your life as something you can change, which is the whole point of this channel, is the change of the cycles. And even if you do it by your hand, that might coincide with astrological shifts or collective shifts that are happening regarding the death of old cycles and patterns on Earth. So you might be part of the change through the actions you are taking to change your life, the moves you are making to change your patterns, or any destructive behavior. You are a part of the whole. Think of it this way as well. If a thread on a tapestry changes, that does, in a sense, change the whole tapestry. It changes the pattern of the tapestry. It can change the look of the tapestry, depending on how long that thread is and how prevalent it is on the display of a tapestry. But in this sense, for the human collective, it's a bit more organic. So, one thread changing or vibrating at a different speed or level can start to raise the vibration or change the frequency of the threads around it, and it starts to ripple out across the whole tapestry. So, as we talk about collective shifts and changes, we do not want to discount your power in how you can steer certain aspects of the collective or certain aspects of the shift in the world through your own habits and choices that you choose or that you change, or through the raising of your own vibration. For you are part of the whole tapestry and you have an impact. And many of you came to Earth specifically for this time to have the impact you're here to have, to be part of the shifting of cycles, to be part of shifting things for other people around you. So do not discount your personal work when it comes to changing the world. Do not put it all on you, but do not forget you are part of the whole. Some of you think you have no effect on the world. That is not true. That is how you find yourself disempowered not making choices and changes in your life, not doing what you're here to do. Unless you need that learning for something in the future, or you must go through that for some reason, or you are healing something, that's different. We would invite you to your power. We would invite you to the sense that you are not stuck in your old cycles. We would also invite you to the sense that you are not necessarily who everyone told you you were in the past. And sure, some of you may have received very intuitive messages from people or in tune messages from people or the universe speaking through people to give you messages or learnings about yourself so that you had that about you going forward and you knew a bit more of who you are or who you are meant to be. At the same token, regarding the negative things others may have spoken or projected on you or judged you as, it does not have to become your truth. It does not have to be your truth. It does not have to be the cycle that plays out to the end. So do not get stuck in the prior definitions of yourself, especially the ones that do not serve you or do that cause you to make the best choices for you. For at the end of the day, you can still make a different choice. You do not have to be stuck with that projection or definition from another that was more negative. For if some of you buy that you are lazy, for example, you might have a million different choices to change that story and to create something different. However, if you just stew in that story and that pattern and keep running that pattern and digging a rut for yourself to run that pattern in your life, you already had a million choices to do something different. You were just running an old story. And those are the things we would advise you to let go of. That's part of what we're talking about here. Stop identifying with the things that are not you so you can have more freedom in what you choose, who you are, how you show up. And we would work with Source on this if we were you. We would ask Source to show us who we were if we were you. We would ask Source to show us what was actually true for us on the highest levels. And we would ask Source to show us the best choices for us moment to moment. Even the choices we did not realize we had if we were incarnate at this time. At least if we remembered who we were as angels while we were incarnate to enough of a degree to do that. You are brave being here, but you are not in danger. You are brave being on earth, but you are not in danger at a soul level at all. You are brave because of some of what you face, though it doesn't have to be that way any longer, where things are always rough. That is part of the shifting of the ages, the new possibilities, the things you can have that are ease and joy and space. And that's what we invite you to walk into with your choices and who you create yourself as on a human level, on an incarnate level. And again, the more of that you create for yourself, the more that helps the world, not to put pressure on you or to get you to beat up on yourself if you don't have those things on a given day or week. For sure, things can happen. But what are you overall moving towards with your choices? And for some of you, who you're choosing to be. We will leave you there. We've run your heads around this topic enough while we worked on your heart center and your voice and allowing your soul to shine through, which is the key to being who you are. We are done with this one, though. We've done what was for the highest good for this crowd, for the amount you can handle at this time for most of you in general. And sure, some of you can go really hardcore. You're already there. However, we are working with the group here, so we cannot go for hours and hours and hours and go super hard and just expect all of you to handle that well with your human systems. Some of you are further along than others, and there's no harm in being where you are at right now. It is exactly perfect for your incarnate journey as it is right now. Don't pressure yourself to be somewhere you're not. Okay? We leave you there. We wish you well, and may your transformation occur with ease for your highest good and the highest good. Farewell for now. Signing out, the Angelic Collective of Zorbital and Source. Farewell. Whew. Hey, you're welcome, Venus Ray, and you're welcome, Mama Sunshine. You're welcome, Carly. You're welcome, The Authentic Mystic. Good to see you. You're welcome, Life of Lily. You're welcome, Boss Babe. I really appreciate you guys showed up, and I'm glad I get to do this. And you're welcome, Firefly on YouTube. I really hope. Oh, thank you, Evan. I'm so grateful to have caught your live again. Always so eye opening. Thank you. That means a lot. Whew. You're welcome, Stacy. You're welcome, Milky Way. It's always a pleasure to get to do this and to get to channel for you guys. And in some ways, in some ways, weird habit to say that. It means a lot that you guys show up and that I get to do this. So, and if you guys weren't here, I probably wouldn't get to do this, at least for you guys. So, um, thank you for being here. I truly hope this helped and did whatever was for the highest good. It contributed in whatever ways for the highest good. I'm probably going to jump out of here in just a second. In case you liked this and would ever like to go further with my work, my website's a really good place to look for everything. I did just launch a free podcast. A lot of you probably already saw that if you're signed up for my free newsletter or just saw it somewhere else. And there's 2 episodes available right now, you can check out. So if you check that out, I hope that's helpful for you and does whatever is for your eyes good with that. And then I also have one-on-one channeled intuitive readings. I have energy healing classes coming up. There's a sale that I have going on. I need to post somewhere. Everyone that's not on the newsletter can see it too. And I have an intro to channeling class coming up later this week, or not this week, sorry, later this month as well. But if you feel called to look into what I have going on, there's so much more. There's a membership with a lot of channel material every month and just a whole library of channel material. And there's some other stuff. So it's on my website if you want to check it out. And I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening. I might hang out for just a second longer. Yeah, I need to get like a better list of like what I talk about at the end with things. But if you feel called to any of that, awesome. So look forward to either working with you or hearing about hopefully what it does for you if you feel called to give feedback. And yeah, I guess that's it for self promo at the end there. Thanks, Greta. You too. For some reason, like a turtle is showing up here as like a channeled or intuitive message here. Oh, it's actually specifically for you, Greta. Sorry. If you need to hear this, you're safe. Like in life, financially, kind of like the turtle has its home on its back. It's also like protected, and it's like this sounds so weird, but like you're protected by the turtle, whether it's like a turtle spirit animal or something. um, And I guess for some of you as well, turtles showing up as like a symbol of divine protection. So you're welcome, Greta. And for anyone who's not seeing the TikTok chat, because the YouTube replay, Greta just says, thank you. I needed to hear that. So you're welcome. I'm glad to hear it. Originally, the Cancer sign was a turtle. No way. Well, I didn't know that. Or I didn't realize that. Saw a turtle across the road yesterday. Synchronicity. All right, guys. So I'm going to need to close the live now. I hope all that was great. And I will probably see you next week. I'll let you know if something comes up. Um, the only reason I say probably is I have some plans this week, and I'm not sure. I'd like to see how that all goes, I guess. Okay, you guys have a great rest of your day or evening. I'm going to close YouTube. So bye, YouTube. Thank you so much. May what's for the highest good transpire for you, of course.